If you're enjoying this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. We need you here.
We got to do this once a year. This is just something this is an annual event now, and I can't just leave it all to your boy Zach of Comics Matter with your boy Zach, who you should absolutely subscribe to. I must participate as well. It's my job. This is Comic Artist Pro Secrets. You are listening to Ethan Van Sciver, 29-year veteran of the comic book industry. What remains of it, the part of it that isn't making any money, the Western comic book industry. And this is Heidi McDonald, aka at Comics Ace. She is the founder of Comics Beat and one of the lead propagandists. I would say the ministrix of propaganda for the SJW comic book industry. And every single year, when Comic-Con comes out with their numbers, Comic-Con releases these charts, these graphs. They're very phallic, and they excite most of the people in the comic book industry. They go, "Oh my goodness, oh," and they point at them and they do soy face and they say everything's okay. The Soylent grin, remember that? Did you see that meme with the two soy boys pointing at the meat-free chicken? Like, that's the face that they do as they point at the. I could just put a meme up. I don't know why I have to describe this, but anyway, that is the face that they do as they point to these charts. Very excited, and then they proceed to dunk on the chuds. But sad to say, this is the year of the chud, and it ain't gonna work. This is what it's so funny. It's like for 1 week they're like smug, and the other 11 months and 3 weeks out of the year, they're scrambling to pay their rent. If they have some unexpected bill, something like my laptop exploded, or my cat has AIDS. Then it's off to GoFundMe. Everything's desperate. These are like seriously existential crises when these, $200, $100 extra, they're in real trouble. But 1 week out of the year, it's like, I don't know what it is. It's like Christmas or something. Things are going well. All right, Heidi McDonald says, turns out comics are not dying, 4 exclamation points. Don't believe the charlatan con men. Okay, so this sentence actually cancels out these two sentences right here. Do not believe Heidi McDonald and do not believe anyone else here. Comics as a whole are not dying. Comics will never die. They'll always exist because they're a fun, practical storytelling medium enjoyed by millions of people around the world. Okay, so comic books are always going to exist. It's just, who is making money on the comic books? Is it us or is it the Japanese? That is the question. Or is it Dan Pilkey? Oh, the answer will not surprise you. Marvel Comics and DC Comics are most certainly dying, or at least they're shrinking to irrelevance in the market, and we're gonna take a look at that. So this is Heidi. People are responding to this. Let me see. As they do. What do we do here? Let me look at this right here. Comics. All right, so this shows the chart. Comics may have had their biggest year ever. All again, may have, bigger than the 50s. And then we can see the chart. And as I said, I mean, it's like, tiny little penis, little pud, and then like mega boner right here. Very wow. That's great. We got the blood pumping through the comic book industry. The industry's biggest year ever in dollar terms, even adjusted for inflation. Read the report right here. Now, a bunch of people have read the report, and they have done their analysis of it. But we'll get to that. I mean, their analysis of this report and of prior reports doesn't change. It consistently says the same thing. This is great news. Let me just point out real quick, spoiler alert, this is great news for everyone who's participating in the manga and YA novel markets. Okay, those two markets there are rapidly growing to replace Marvel and DC. They are. Marvel and DC are shrinking. This is not good news if you are a fan, creator, or publisher, okay, of Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, the Avengers, any of those things. Okay, this is not money that is coming from you towards Marvel. This is money that's coming from a lot of teenagers towards My Hero Academia and Dogman, and Captain Underpants. Okay, that's what this. All of this money is going somewhere else, not to us, and that's a real shame. But I mean, look, you as a fan, you can join those markets and you can be a part of this growth and success. Publishers could choose to try to be a part of this. Creators could choose to try to alter what they're making drastically from, the superhero comics, Conan the Barbarian, whatever we're selling here in the mainstream, to what's actually selling. And maybe it'll work. I don't know. I'm not sure, guys. I'm not sure if it's going to work. It may have had their biggest year ever. Yeah, I mean, comics have, but not necessarily us, okay? And I consider us to be Western comics, the comics that I read, the comics that I helped to make all through 29 years of my life. That's what I care about. I don't care if manga succeeds. I mean, I want comics to continue to succeed in some abstract way, but when it comes to business, I want the stuff that, I worked on, and the people that I know worked on to succeed. Heidi admits, first of all, that all of the number estimates that we are seeing lately have been just that. They're just estimates, because we no longer get actual numbers from people. She says, we need a book scan for comic books, reliable sell-through to consumers' data, which is the metric used for most sales charts, videos, books. Comic Hub PR is a start. I know that NPD Group tried to work with Diamond for sell-through data in the past, but it didn't work out. Yeah, and right now, like, it's very convenient that we don't have that sales data. Right now, it's great that we don't see how many books are actually being shipped and sold. All right, so we've got books that are shipping from the publisher to the distributor to the retailers, and then how many books are being sold from the retailer to you, to the customer, to the reader. We don't have that data. We used to have data like that, but we don't anymore because the monopoly of Diamond distribution broke up. And now Marvel and DC are using many different distributors, some of whom do not really report the data. So at the moment, the lack of reliable numbers to me just seems like a curtain around the hospice bed of a dying person. We know sales are bad. We know that they're not selling that many comics. But it seems like it's none of our business how bad it is. We should give Marvel and DC their privacy as they depart this mortal coil. But I do agree, real numbers would be appreciated. And Heidi points out, with comics distribution no longer a monopoly, we are no longer getting reliable numbers about sell-in, and I think comics publishers value sales charts for marketing purposes. And I would say that they know. I mean, the publishers know. We don't know. Of course they know. They know how many books they're shipping. They know how many books, are being if they are returnable in some cases. We know that they have that data, but we don't have that data. It's being kept from us. But we could see even the estimates that they provide. The estimates are going to be positive. Okay, they're going to be a little bit overblown, but let's just pretend that they aren't and they're accurate, maybe even low. The estimates are still scary low comparative to any other time that I worked in comics, with only one or two books per company. We're talking about like Image, Marvel, DC, maybe Boom Studios. One or two of those books will break the 100,000 sale threshold, but when you look closer at the books that break that threshold, they have like a dozen, not even a dozen, dozens of variant covers. Okay, so it's easy to spike the sales of a single issue of a book by telling a retailer, look, there are literally 36 different variant covers. So now the retailer is anticipating, what if I have some lunatic that comes into my store who wants to collect all 36 variant covers on this one book? I better buy more copies of this book than I anticipate I have customers to buy individual issues. And that's the variant cover scam. That is how to pump up sales numbers. Okay, that's how they do that. But I mean, those books, and they're only a couple, like maybe DC will have 2 over 100,000, Marvel will have 2 over. Sometimes they're high. It's like 300,000 for one book, with the help of those variant covers. Those books provide a tentpole for the mid list. Everything underneath 100,000 is very, very low. And at DC, only Batman comics are selling over 50,000 right now, which is why they're only publishing Batman comics. And that is an absolutely terrifying situation for DC. I don't know how Heidi could be so smug. I mean, this is crazy. But yes, she is. She continues to be smug. Now, this is interesting here. We got a nice comic skater who got angry with Heidi after she tried her propaganda on him, and he just couldn't take it anymore. He said, "Your entire profession, Heidi, and we're all sick of it. It's why your Whisper network failed. Your credibility with fans is non-existent, and the industry is collapsing around you." And Heidi says, "One sad person's response to the news that comics and graphic novel sales were up 60%. Yes. I mean, I guess so, Heidi, for goodness sakes. But here is another sad person's reaction to that news. This is Brian Hibbs, who's a retailer, big retailer in San Francisco, and respected by many, I would say. Let me see here. He says, Hibbs notes, this is from an article from Polygon. So, I mean, I don't even know, like, Heidi McDonald, would you even dare to defend? I mean, look at the source of this article, Polygon. It doesn't get any more far left than that. Brian Hibbs, retailer from San Francisco, one of the biggest retailers, notes that 64% of all sales, you know, when you see the sales charts here, that big fat, the giant phallic chart, Hibbs notes that 64% of all sales are of books by just 95 people, okay? And you can see that. If you actually break down the sales chart by year, you could see that all of those people have Japanese names, or they're Dan Pilkey, or just a few other people who are putting out these YA novels, which are sort of like comic books. I mean, kind of. I mean, they're being considered comic books because we really need them to be comic books, if you know what I mean. But anyway, this is a vast broadening of the talent pool. In 2020, it was only 51 people who represented 61% of sales. So in other words, you know, look, if you can make manga, you can make YA novels, and you are going to, if you're creating that kind of content, you're going to do great. You're going to do terrific, and you can join this big growth margin in the comic book industry. Some of the most popular creators selling comics and manga right now, which is all that we're considering. Dan Pilkey, creator of the Captain Underpants series, My Hero Academia creator Kohei Horikoshi, and authors from the Babysitter Club graphic novel adaptations, and a YouTuber by the name of FGT TV, who I've never heard of, and I guess I'm going to look into him and find out what's up. What you can take from this is that only a tiny number of creators drive the majority of the business in comics. Tiny number, and none of them. We don't know any of them. I mean, I don't. Maybe Heidi does. I've never met Dan Pilkey, and I'm sure he doesn't travel in comic convention circles. And books in general. Okay, so they drive the majority of business in comics and books in general, and conversely, he says, this is the important part, this probably means that the numerical majority of comics aren't actually significantly profitable any given year. That is correct. So Marvel and DC, who are putting out a lot of comics, are making absolutely no money at all. And that is, I actually, when I responded to Heidi, I look, that is that like crying, or is that sweating and nervousness? I guess it's nervousness, but either way works. And that is sad. And again, I just close out. I'd like to celebrate the good news for comics with you. Comicsgate sales are doing great. They are. Comicsgate sales are doing pretty good. They'll do better when the next Cyberfrog launches. Cyberfrog Dark Harvest is probably going to launch this year after Cyberfrog 2 ships, and then Cyberfrog 3 as well. So that'll be good for Comicsgate. A toast to the future of comics, whether that includes anyone we've ever met or not. I mean, Heidi and I probably have not met Kohei Horikoshi or Dan Pilkey or anyone else. None of these people who are actually making real money in comics. Most of us are just sitting around. I'm doing okay. I assume that everyone else is hanging on by their fingernails right now, just judging from social media, from the way I hear people talking. It really is sad. Heidi goes on to brag somewhere else here that comic book sales, are what they are. But there's been a 23% increase in profits, or in money generated, not necessarily even profits, for DC Comics and Marvel Comics. Like, they're making a 23% increase just in terms of their sales. Not how many books are selling, but the money that they're generating from the books. And Cyberfrog, are you watching this for me? We look at the computer screen here. DC increases price of monthly Batman comic and others to you want to see where that... Wait, they were $4. Now they're $6. Where did that 23% increase come from? I wonder. So this is really, really good business. Ultimately, I will say this to my former peers in the mainstream comic book industry. First of all, God help you. Second of all, if things are great, ask for a raise. Maybe there is, maybe there's money being left behind that you can grab, because now that David Zaslav has joined and owns DC Comics as part of a package deal, David Zaslav of Discovery now owns Warner Brothers. Maybe they saved a little money by dropping DC Comics from San Diego Comic-Con's con floor. That makes me sad to hear, but it is indeed true. Like, DC Comics is so insignificant at this point that Warner Brothers, the Discovery Warner, is not even going to let them have a booth presence. And by the way, this was a sudden decision. They were going to have a booth presence, complete with panels and other things, up until just 2 days ago, when suddenly Zaslav said, no thanks, I don't think we're going to do that. And so maybe whatever money was going to be spent on the con floor could go to somebody who's working at DC or Marvel. All of these companies are paring back and trying to save money where they can. And I would say, why do they have to save money on your page rate? Ask them for a raise. Point out that sales are up by 23%. Profits are up by 23% in periodicals, and 60% comic book growth, comicdom wide. Dazzle them with those stats, and then demand 10%, 15% raise on your page rate, and I'm sure you're going to get it. Heidi McDonald is also sure that you're going to get it, I think, because after all, guys, comics may have had their biggest year ever, bigger than the 50s. Thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a comment below. And also, subscribe. I need you to subscribe here. Check and see if you're still subscribed. Ring the bell for notifications, and share this video all around, like it. Just interact with it if you can, in any way that you possibly can. Let's help this channel to grow. I'll be back a little bit later with another video. Take care.
The All Caps Comics eBay store is live for all of your non-soy comic book needs. Whether it's Cyberfrog, Starblades, or Rainbow the Brute, ask for it in all caps. Check out the link in the description below. Hey, come follow me on Twitter, @EthanVanSkyver.